This is just a bonus video. This video is going to be a little longer than the rest of them, but please, I encourage you, if you can, just watch it to the end. No, it's not a part of the 31-day challenge, but it can be very relatable. This is a moment for me that I'm willing to be transparent. I know yesterday we talked about awareness, and if you didn't catch the video yesterday, I encourage you to go back and watch it. In fact, if you hadn't had opportunity to watch any of the videos, go back and watch all 8. I pray that it blesses you. So yesterday, I slightly talked about being aware of your triggers. Now, if I be completely honest with myself and with you guys, the last day or so, I've been triggered. Even as I push through to complete my videos for the 31-day Release Your Trauma Challenge. Now, if you know me being someone who's been through a significant amount of trauma, and now being a better version of myself because I've allowed myself to continue to go through the healing process. Continue. Continue is not just a one and done. You don't get to just take a magic pill and all your pain and trauma just goes away. No. Healing is something you have to continually work on. You have to be aware of your emotions, your triggers, and your patterns. Because nearly anything can attempt to hold you hostage to your pain and your trauma. These things are designed to leave us stuck and miserable. So, please do not disregard that trauma will forever change your DNA. So what triggered me? The weather. You're probably sitting there thinking, how could the weather trigger you or trigger anyone, right? But let me give you a little piece of my story. See, growing up, my relationship with my mother was complicated. She was and still is a functioning addict and alcoholic. I can't recall her being active or nurturing presence in my life. I do recall her carrying a lot of resentment towards me, and I felt it in every interaction. She only provided the bare minimum, just enough to get by to say she's done her duty, but never enough to make me feel loved or valued. Her absence became painfully clear, especially when I found myself homeless as a young adult. And not just homeless, abandoned. So let me take you there. It's winter in Dallas, just like it is now. Just like our current situation, the weather is unforgiving. Icy winds cutting through even the thickest layers of our clothing. Now, as a Texan, we all know Texas weather is unpredictable, and we're never prepared for it. But that night, I was sleeping on a bench outside of Gloria's Hair Salon, just a block up the street from my mother's house. A 5-foot bench is all I had. I had no jacket, just 2 hoodies and a backpack. And as the temperatures continued to drop, the cold air seeped to my bones. I knew I couldn't stay there. So I walked up the street to the Dart train station, hoping I could find or get a ride on the train so I can have some warmth. But the problem was I did not have train fare. So I stood there shivering, my breath visible to the cold, freezing air, asking strangers if I could have their pass and if they didn't need it any further. But one woman handed me hers, and I was able to board the train. So I sat in the middle of the car where it was the warmest. And with every stop, the cold air rushes in when the doors open. I'm sitting there closing my eyes, just trying to get a nap. But I couldn't because my mind continued to race. I couldn't ignore the reality. I had nowhere to go. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, who can I call? And the only person that's coming to my mind is my mother. And I'm thinking, looking out the window, looking at the weather, surely my mother would allow me to sleep in the snow, outside in the cold. But that call, it changed everything. So I called my mother, my voice trembling with desperation. Mom, can I please stay for a few days, just until the snow clears, because I don't have nowhere else to go. And my mother knew that. She and I was all we had at the time in Dallas. And to be honest, her response shattered me. She simply said, he said, you're not welcome here. So the best I can do is leave you blankets and a pillow in my car. But I'm not going to leave you the keys or allow the car to run, because he can't know you're out here. My heart broke into pieces. My own mother, someone I thought that was supposed to protect me, chose her husband, a man who preyed on me, over my safety. That night I slept in my mother's car, curled up in blankets. The temperature dropped 20, 30 degrees. I was freezing. I was angry. I was overwhelmed by the sense of betrayal, to be honest. I can't even put it all into words. But God. The next day I called my best friend Jess. R.I.P. Jess. I explained to her the situation. I asked her to ask her family if it was okay if I can come stay over. I was terrified to even ask Jess that. And with no hesitation, Jess said, I got this. Her parents welcomed me in their home with open arms. They gave me food, warmth, a bed, safety. I hadn't had that in a long time. That moment changed me, and it changed a lot for me. Because I realized that night that sometimes the people who saves us aren't the ones we expect. It might not be family. Sometimes it's friends. Sometimes it's even strangers. But what matters is we aren't afraid to ask for help. And that is the reason why those experiences helped me, and it inspired me to create my Black Sheep community. For people who's been overlooked, abandoned, just like me. At Black Sheep, we say, we got this. It's a safe space for survivors of abuse and trauma can rebuild their lives and find their voice and realize that they are not alone. So I have a question. When was the last time you actually showed up for someone and said, I got this? But if you're someone who is in need, remember this. Help is out there. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Because when we show up for each other, we create a world where no one is left out in the cold. black sheep. The things that you are silent about are the things I want to talk about. Thank you for allowing me to be transparent today.